Welcome into the Ram Truck Workshop here at the Rebuilding Exchange. We're with Sean Buino from Dad's Home Improvement. Sean, you're going to take me back to school today with some chalkboard paint.
I am. I brought a quart of this chalkboard paint. It's really hip right now.
I know the people at home, when they think of hip, they think of Sean and Ryan.
All the time. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a door and we're going to paint one of the inside panels of the door with the chalkboard so you can have a nice chalkboard inside of your kitchen.
So there's no way I'll lose that grocery list now. Other than an available door near your kitchen, you'll also need a few other supplies: chalkboard paint and a stirrer, fine sandpaper, tack cloth, and blue painter's tape.
This is really important. We're going to use a foam roller on this so we get a nice even surface when we paint it on. And then I've got a little tray for the paint to go into.
All right, Sean, this seems simple enough, even for a guy like me. I see the door back here. Why don't we get it up on the table and get started?
This is the top panel, and this would be a great panel to put the chalkboard paint on because it'll be writing height for all the people in the family. So let's go ahead and get this panel prepared for the paint.
Okay, sounds good.
So I've got a piece of sandpaper. I'm using a 220 grit, which is a very fine grit. And what we want to do is just rough up this surface. Now, unlike when we're doing wood refinishing, we don't have to worry about going with the grain. You can just go in any direction when you're sanding the paint down like this. That looks great. Okay, the sanding is complete. Now it's time to use tack cloth to get all this debris off of the surface so that it's nice and clean. And it's nice and clean and ready for chalkboard paint.
But before we pop the top on the paint, we need to tape off the panel with the painter's tape so that we keep our painting inside the lines. This really is just like school.
We are going to apply roughly 3 coats of this chalkboard paint. And when you're doing this, I'm going to recommend putting a very light first coat on, waiting a half hour for that to dry, and then going ahead applying 2 more coats in the same fashion.
Sean pours the paint in the tray and gets a roller just covered, but not dripping for his first light coat. He starts in the middle and works his way out to the corners, keeping it nice and even.
The last thing we want to see when we're done is a streaky chalkboard. We want this to look just as nice and smooth as it did when you were in school.
I spent a lot of time writing sentences on the chalkboard at school, so.
I bet you did. So this will bring back a lot of memories for you.
Good and bad.
So I've got my first coat of paint on, as you can see. And what I'm doing now is just very gently, almost with no pressure at all, rolling over that top coat so we can get all these lines and streaks out.
We wait about a half hour, then it's my turn to prove I was paying attention, and I do the second coat.
I've watched the master.
I finish up coat number 2, and we wait another 30 minutes and wrap it up with a third and final coat.
Now all we have to do is wait about 24 hours for the paint to dry and fully cure.
And 3 days to write on it.
Correct.
And because you can do almost anything on TV, we fast forward 24 hours to a dry door and carefully remove that tape. Very carefully.
That's why I think I'm going to let you do it. That way if you mess up, I can blame it on you.
Luckily, Sean's tape pulling skills come through and touch-ups aren't necessary this time around. But we do have one more step before we can break out the chalk.
We have to condition the chalkboard. We want to coat the whole board with chalk, and then we're going to wipe it off. So we have a nice layer of chalk on top of the chalkboard paint. So now I'm just going to take a piece of paper towel, bunch it up, and just rub it off. That's it. And you see we have a nice chalky finish on the chalkboard, and we're ready to write.
In just a few hours and for less than $30, this door is ready to write on, but not ready to wipe down with a wet cloth just yet. For the first week, you'll need to stick with a dry cloth to erase it, as it takes 7 days for the paint to fully cure, which apparently is less time than it takes me to achieve expert status on my own show.
If you just keep hanging out with me, we'll do projects like this. We'll get you there, Ryan.